Boston Celtics played an ugly game in Washington, but they won. And how they won, how they closed this out was actually really good. I'll talk about it right now on a bonus Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamp. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. I got you covered every Monday through Friday. Bonus podcast when they play on the weekend. This is a weekend they played, so here I am. Not going to go too long with this. I'm not going the full half hour because this was a gross game. It was an ugly game. I was sitting next to Jay King for a lot of this game here. He was calling it despicable. It was a gross game. It was ugly. They couldn't hit shots. They weren't playing the right way for a lot of it. But, man, I loved the fourth quarter. So let's talk about it. Let's go through it. A shorter bonus podcast for you to dive into what I really loved about this game. The Celtics, oh, boy, I got no graphic there. There's my graphic here on YouTube. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. Obviously, be subscribed wherever you get your audio. I should introduce myself. I'm John Karalis. I've been covering the Celtics team for about 20 years now and doing it as a beat writer now for Boston Sports Journal. And, follow my stuff there. Buy my book, Built Different, on johnkaralis.com. $30. Signed, personalized, sent to your door. Great gift. When I come back from Washington, because I'm here in Washington, D.C. If you missed the podcast yesterday, I was at the White House. Super cool moment. When I get back from D.C., I will be mailing out a bunch of books starting on Monday. So lots of books going out. Make yours one of them. So the Celtics played an ugly game. It's 108-96. They end up winning by 12. My first reaction here is like, what are you going to do? What are you going to say about this team? It feels like this is a game where you kind of want to rip them a little bit. Like, why are you coming out so slow? Why are you coming out like this? Why are you playing like this? Why aren't you doing the things you're supposed to do? Blah, 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 blah. But ultimately you're like, am I going to get worked up over a 12-point win? Right? You beat the Washington Wizards. Could you have won by 22? Could you have won by 32? Sure, maybe. But you're getting worked up over style points. Right? If you're going to sit there and be crazy, like, I can't believe it, blah. And maybe in past seasons, people would have been. Maybe I would have been a little bit more, down on the performance. But, okay, they came out. You could tell right away. First quarter, I'm watching the offense. I'm like, they're going ISO. They're mismatch hunting already. And, like, they were going after Alex Sarr. He was not good in this game. They were attacking him. They were going at him. And I think they kind of got a little mismatch happy and settling for a lot of three-pointers in those situations. It just felt like right away you could tell this isn't your normal Celtics game. This isn't drive, kick, generate a lot of good three-pointers. I feel like this was a lot of ISO, settling for three-pointers. Not all the time. If they had little bursts, right? Little bursts of, oh wow, Tatum has been playing like kind of crappy, but then all of a sudden, assist. They're moving the ball, kick it out to Hauser, kick it out to Peyton Pritchard. They had little pockets of it, and you're like, okay, maybe they're going to start to figure it out. Nope, they've regressed. They've gone back to the other thing. So it felt like they were sporadic. And after the game, Jaylen Brown said, look, maybe it was because of yesterday. Maybe it was because of the White House stuff. It was a long day. And I can completely see that. This season, they've been really good about focusing, moving forward, all of that stuff, not worried about the championship and all of that. And yet, here we are. It's Thursday, and everything's about the championship. The trophy's back out. They're taking pictures with the trophy again. They're holding the trophy again. Everybody's being gassed up. President's talking them up. They're in the White House, which some people they were very lukewarm. I think a bunch of them were lukewarm on the idea, and we're like, we asked Joe Mazzulla about it. And he's like, it was fine. Okay. But it still was a cool day. It was a long day, and it knocks your focus off. I think they came into this like, we're awesome. We're the champs. Look how great we are. Look how we're being celebrated. Washington sucks. We're just going to come in here. We're better than all of these guys. So we're just going to out talent them. And it didn't work, right? It didn't work that way. They were down. I think the biggest boost they got, they were down 68-67, about 3.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. I think this was the turning point of the game. Xavier Tillman checks in. It's because they started Neemias Queta. Al Horford, by the way, out for the game, non-COVID illness. I joked that he was hungover. Maybe the rest of the Celtics were too, and that's why they didn't play well. But he had a non-COVID illness. He was not feeling well enough to play, so he missed this game. They started Neemias Queta. He was bad. Neemias Queta was just bad in this game. No sugarcoating it. He is making a lot of the same mistakes over and over again, and this is the problem. When it's okay to make a mistake, but if you're constantly repeating mistakes, like another situation after Tillman had checked in where Tillman had a play covered and Nemi went over to try to block the shot. And then I think Valanciunas was behind him. He left Valanciunas, and then guess who was there to get the putback? Neemias Queta's man. So you can't keep making those mistakes and costing your team points. Right. They had just played great defense. They'd just gotten this boost from Tillman coming in, and Queta's out there just kind of giving points back. I thought he had a bad game. I think he's been kind of trending downwards. He started the game, but Luke Cornett started the second half. So it's so funny because this is how it went last year with Queta. If we remember correctly, Luke sprained an ankle. He came out, he wasn't playing great. Queta comes in, he has like this big moment, everybody's talking him up, and then Queta starts to fade, and then Luke had just a monster rest of the season. He was the guy after that, and Queta just kind of faded off. This is kind of happening the same way. So Luke came in. Luke was, by the way, pretty good. I thought he was pretty good. Side note, he had a real funny moment second quarter, I believe. He's got Bub Carrington on a switch. Carrington travels, and he looks over to the bench like, oh, look at this guy. Whoa, doing the whole, like, it was hilarious. It's like, do you see how shook he got when I went out there to switch on him? So it was a really funny moment. So Luke was good. Tillman comes in because Queta just wasn't working. They needed something different. Tillman comes in, blocks a shot right away. Come on down. Jaylen gets the ball, brings it down, right side. Sam Hauser 3. Celtics take the lead. They never give the lead back. They were tied once, maybe twice. I think just once after that. But the Celtics never gave back the lead. So Tillman comes in, gives them that spark, and the Celtics do enough to close the game. So Tillman's energy really was a bright spot. And, give Tillman some credit. He had played a little more than 2 minutes of garbage time and 3 DNPs in his past 5 games. He was out of the rotation, and he might still be out of the rotation. It might be based on matchups and whatever, but it's tough being in his spot. But he was out there. He's constantly ready. When they call that the stay ready group, there's a reason why, and he was huge in that. So Tillman's energy, I thought, was great. The Celtics were not shooting well, right? They finished the game 11 of 46 from 3, and that was not just 11 for 46. We'll see another 11 for 46 somewhere along the way, because for some reason, when guys go cold, like the whole team basically goes cold. When you're a high volume shooting team, you're going to have some of these nights. Sucks, but the bet is you don't have many of these nights. You don't have 4 of them in a 7-game series. Joe Mazzulla's strategy is very much geared towards a 7-game series. You get through the regular season pretty well, but are you going to have these nights 4 games out of 7? Probably not. Not when you shoot as well as Boston does. So they had this game, but it wasn't just that they had this game. The misses were bad. Jaylen Brown had a miss. I felt like a 1.5 feet wide left. I've never seen anybody miss like that before. Jayson Tatum fired, I think, 2 air balls from 3. They could not hit a thing, it seemed. Jayson was 0 of 10 from 3. Jaylen was 3 of 13. 3 of 23. They took half of Boston's 3-pointers, Jaylen and Jayson. Half of Boston's 3-pointers were those 2 guys, and they only hit 3 of them, and all of them were Jaylen Brown. Jaylen, after the game, said, we definitely took too many threes. I took too many threes. I was definitely settling. And I've talked about this line before where the Celtics take a bunch of 3-pointers. They love the 3-pointers. Taking those versus searching for better shots, that line is very difficult because you have little Mr. Confidence on your shoulder going, nah, man, that next one's going in. Just keep firing. You can feel that next one ready to go in. And little Mr. Confidence on your shoulders, like, yeah, man, that felt good, right? It was right on. Just keep shooting. But you got to have Mr. Reality on the other shoulder. Jaylen said after the game, you got to be humble, right? You got to understand, like, there are other things you can do. And in the fourth quarter, finally, the Celtics took more 2s than 3s. And they took a bunch of shots in the paint and back to the basket stuff. Some of them weren't in the paint, but they were fadeaways off of post-ups. Jayson, Jaylen, both of them attacking, going to the rim. They were, 6 of 10, Jayson and Jaylen. They were 6 of 10 shooting in the fourth quarter from 2. They didn't hit a 3 in the fourth quarter. Derek White was the only one who hit 3s in the fourth quarter. He hit 2. He was 2 of 2. He woke up. He wasn't having a great game. I thought Drew Holiday was really one of the only guys that came to play from the beginning. Holiday was great, and I think they probably, if they were really smart, would have run more through Drew early on because he was the only one that kind of had it going from the jump. But I really like the fact that this fourth quarter happened. And, you know, the fourth quarter doesn't happen without the first 3 quarters being as bad as they are. There's something about this game where I'm like, this was gross and ugly, but also I love the fact that the first 3 quarters were so gross and ugly that they had to do something different. And Jaylen and Jayson were like, oh, by the way, we're actually pretty awesome with our backs to the basket. And that is an important element to the Celtics offense. You have to have some of that. You have to have the balance. The universe thrives on balance. The earth thrives on balance. It makes sense that basketball, pro sports, everything thrives on balance. As much as Boston is testing the limits of 3-point shooting, you have to have some level of balance to make sure that you're able to adjust when you need to. The Celtics needed to adjust against Washington. They were playing terribly. They were turning the ball over. They were just firing shots indiscriminately at some points. Fourth quarter, they stepped inside the 3-point line. They go back to the basket. They use their physicality. They use their ability to hit some of those tough turnaround shots. The shots that I've been saying, Jayson Tatum, fourth quarter shots, playoff shots, in the post, turnaround, fadeaway jumpers. That's going to be his money shot, and he hit a couple of those. Jaylen hit a ridiculous one, this huge parabola that went in, but that's how you have to win some of these games, and they are good at that. They are also obviously good at 3-point shooting, although Jaylen's not having the best start to the season 3-point shooting-wise. They're capable of having big shooting nights, but they are also strong physical players. Jaylen thrives around the basket. He is really good around the basket. He is when we talk about thunder and lightning, he's the thunder. He's the guy that can bang down low, and with the size that he has, the muscle that he has, he should be like using that post. He's great at the fadeaways. Use that more often. Fourth quarter is about making buckets wherever they come from. So I am actually kind of thrilled that the Celtics went inside, that they said, all right, fine. We're not hitting from three. We give. Let's do something different. Maybe it serves as a reminder that sprinkle this in throughout the game. Sprinkle this in a little bit more. First, second, third quarters. Because also, when you figure that out, when you start to hit those shots, I wouldn't be surprised if there was, let's say, an overtime. If everything went exactly the same way, but the Wizards made a few shots and they forced overtime, no way for me to prove this, but I have a strong belief that Tatum and Brown would have hit 3-pointers in the overtime because they started to hit shots closer to the basket. They started to hit some of these other shots. And when those start to fall, you start to feel good. And I swear, I bet some of those 3-pointers, if there was an opportunity to take more, some of them would have started to fall. So just mix that in with the 3-pointers. I've said a million times, I don't care that the Celtics take 60 3-pointers as long as they're good. I care more about taking bad ones. They took 46 in this one, and there were a lot of bad ones. So on this night, I will harp on their 3-point shooting. On a night where they could shoot 25% on 63 pointers, if the shots that they generate are great, no problem with that. But I still want to see more balance from the Celtics offense. And maybe Porzingis coming back will be part of that balance. But I do want Jaylen and Jayson to understand that they're good at this other stuff, and that can supplement some of the shots that they're taking. I know the math is the math, and I know that they're really trying to work a certain style, but just a couple more of these throughout the game can help them get on track. So I thought, aside from that, like I said, I thought Holiday was good. Derek White had a good fourth quarter, was off the rest of the night. Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, I thought did a good job coming in. Pritchard, 3 of 6, 1 of 3 from 3. Sam Hauser, I thought he was about to catch fire, right? 3 of 5 from 3, 5 of 7 overall. I thought this was going to end up being like, wow, Hauser caught fire. He loves shooting in Washington. I thought he was going to start really going off, but he had a good stint. A couple of good defensive plays in the fourth quarter. So he was really good. So really, I'm more encouraged by the finish than I'm not going to focus too much on the crappy parts. The finish is the good stuff. So that's it. Celtics beat the Washington Wizards. By the way, NBA Cup, the Hawks lost, so the Celtics are now tied with Atlanta, Group C. It is hilarious to me. Absolutely hilarious that this might come down to Friday night, Celtics and the Bulls in Chicago. Celtics and Bulls again with point differential on the line. Can we see Hackett Drummond with the Celtics up 20 in a regular season game? Can we see that again, please? That would be absolutely hilarious. So Celtics win the cup. So that's not win the cup, win a cup game. So they're still alive. Vegas is still in play. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this bonus podcast. Just 20 minutes of me yapping away. But I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back. The Celtics play Sunday afternoon against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They go on a back-to-back, so that's going to be a little tough stretch of 3 games in 4 nights, or the Sunday's the afternoon, 3:30. I will podcast after that game, hopefully from the Garden. Should be from the Garden. There's no reason to change it over. I can't believe they're 16 games in, and I haven't been able to broadcast or podcast from inside an arena yet. So that's going to happen Sunday night. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your audio podcast. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for getting into the comment section. And now would love it if you share the podcast, tell your friends, and tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.